Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives. We'll spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered in over 46 years of doing therapy. These tools are available absolutely free at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the red and white bullseye or the link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages that says Start Here, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? That chapter of that book contains a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great advantage in my life for over 16 years to improve the quality of my life, manage my emotions, and turn any negative emotion into an infallible guidance system to improve my perception, improve my life experience. So we're encouraging people to go to that website, read that chapter of his book. You can also download absolutely free the worksheet process itself. It's a PDF file. You print it off, use it as often as you'd like. You can also go to your app store and type in the 3 words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. When you tap on that, you can get access to a completely free and private app that will contain the Reality Management Worksheet process itself, an abbreviated version of that process, and a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. You can also download a whole list of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through that worksheet process or called to clarify some of the dynamics of the process and what underlies it and its powerful effectiveness. And we encourage people to listen to those repeatedly because they serve as a tutorial for this work. You can also scroll down on that page and get access to a whole host of other tools. As I mentioned, the Reality Management Worksheet is the primary tool in this work. It's far from the only tool. And the rest of the tools are available. Almost all of them are there absolutely free as well. Tools like the 3 early memories of conflict, tools like the Mind Shifter targeted journaling, tools like the Mind Goal Management Sheet, the Responsibility Communication Tool, and the list goes on and on and on. So, if you'd like support with any of those tools, we are here 5 days a week in our current format. It's 2 hours a day. And you can call us at 563-999-3581 and press 1 and get your comments aired and spend some time with us considering your questions and working with you to get better understanding. We've engaged in this process this year to go through the Course in Miracles lessons, and today is the 62nd day of the year. And lesson 62 from the workbook Course in Miracles reads as follows: Forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. And of course, yesterday the lesson was pointing out that I am the light of the world. And today's lesson specifies what is my function as the light of the world. Forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. The commentary reads, it is your forgiveness that will bring about the world of darkness to light. It is your forgiveness that lets you recognize the light in which you see. Forgiveness, in this sense, is the demonstration that you are the light of the world. Through your forgiveness, does the truth about yourself return to your memory? And again, the word forgiveness, the way we're using it, has more to do with, here's the definition from the Way of Mastery, and it says, to forgive means to choose to release another from the perceptions you have been projecting upon them. It is, therefore, an act of removing one's negative projections. As you begin to forgive or remove those negative projections, each time you forgive or remove the negativity from your life, you take yourself deeper into the purity of your own consciousness. That's the source here. This is canceling negativity. This is canceling false perception. That's what they're referring to by the word forgiveness in this work. Forgiveness is the demonstration that you are the light of the world. And through forgiveness or removing the negativity from your life, you allow the truth of yourself to return to your memory. You take yourself deeper into the heart of your own consciousness. Therefore, in your forgiveness lies your salvation. Therefore, in your canceling the negativity and removing false perceptions, are you restored to the true awareness of your true nature. Illusions about yourself and the world are the same. They're the same thing. That is why all forgiveness is a gift to yourself. Your goal is to find out who you are. Having denied your identity by attacking creation and its creator, now you're learning how to remember the truth with a capital T. For this attack on the creator and all creation must be replaced by forgiveness, the dismantling of the negativity, so that thoughts of life may replace thoughts of death. Remember that in every attack, you call upon your own weakness. You create the illusion of vulnerability where your perfect safety rests. While each time you forgive, you call upon the strength of the Christ mind in you. Do you not then begin to understand what forgiveness will do for you? It will remove all sense of weakness, strain, and fatigue from your mind. Forgiveness is removal, is canceling, is dismantling the false. It will take away all fear and guilt and pain. It, meaning forgiveness, will restore your perfect safety, your awareness of your perfect safety, and it will restore the power the Creator gave His offspring and bring that power to your awareness. Let us be glad to begin and end this day by practicing today's idea and use it as frequently as possible throughout the day. It will help to make this day as happy for you as the Creator wants you to be, and it will help those around you as well as those who seem to be far away in space and time. It will help them to share this happiness with you. As often as you can, closing your eyes if possible, say to yourself today, forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. I would fulfill my function that I may be happy. And then devote a minute or two to considering your function and the happiness and release it will bring you. Let related thoughts come freely, for your heart will recognize these words, and your mind is the awareness that they are true. Should your attention wander, repeat the idea and add, I would remember this because I want to be happy. Forgiveness is my function as the light of the world, and I would fulfill my function that I may be happy. I would remember this because I want to be happy. From Pam Grout's book, The Course in Miracles Experiment, chapter 62 is titled, The Tour de Force Less Mentioned. She quotes J.K. Rowling, who said, "Let us step into the night and pursue that flighty temptress, adventure." Pam writes, "I get why people sour on A Course in Miracles. Its marketing and branding team just sucks. The real bennies of this life-changing program are rarely, if ever, mentioned. It comes off as something you have to do, something that requires work. Nobody bothers to mention the excitement, the adventure, the fun. It's like when Coors Beer translated their Turn It Loose slogan into Spanish. Their global branding team failed to double-check the Spanish translation, and a colloquial term for diarrhea was the Spanish translation. And when Gerber started marketing baby food in Africa, researchers neglected to uncover that in Ethiopia, where many consumers can't read, labels show the contents. And so here's a picture of a cute Gerber baby. So people are thinking there's ground up babies in the baby food. The Course, of course, doesn't have branding experts or marketing gurus, so I'm not sure how we got so led astray. But I do feel indebted to mention this one tiny reason that I continue to practice it day after day. When you surrender long-standing beliefs about yourself and the world, and what is and isn't possible, you literally embark on a magnificent adventure. You discover things you've never experienced before, things you never thought possible. You unearth depths of your own being that have yet to be activated. You uncover revelations that change every aspect of your life. Each day when you open the book and follow its simple instructions, and it's not even hard or time-consuming, you find trails, roads, and byways you had no idea existed. Truly, the gift of the Course is so much better than any new Jaguar or big house. I approach it as a daily, ongoing, epic adventure. So for this lesson, 5 minutes twice a day or apply as needed. So there we have it. Lesson 62 from A Course in Miracles on what is the 62nd day of this year. Forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. So our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And we have 12 callers and one person in the chat room and 45 minutes or 44 minutes left to entertain each other or serve each other or teach each other or question with each other. How might we serve you today? What is on your mind? What would be of use? I just had somebody in my office. We were talking about the power and the benefits of using the app, the Reality Management Worksheet app, and how convenient it is that most people take their smartphones with them everywhere they go, including even the bathroom, so that whenever a negative thought comes crashing down or prancing across my awareness, I will probably have at my disposal, should I choose to use it, one of the most powerful and effective and efficient tools that's ever been created to dismantle that negativity and to restore myself to this calm, centered, loving, healthy space. And I was talking to this person about an incident that happened in my life on Monday that I was participating in a video call, and somebody said something, and instantly I found myself experiencing anger, righteous indignation. And what I've learned in all of this work for as many years as I've done it for various different schools of thought, and certainly with the tools that we present here on the Mind Shifters radio show and in our Mind Shifter support groups, I've learned that everything about my emotional state is an inside job. And if I speak when I have a negative emotion, if I act when I have a negative emotion, I am going to make my current situation worse, not better. So what I did on Monday in the middle of that call was just hold my tongue and mark it as something that I want to come back and do a worksheet on. Because what I understand as, in my life experience is that the presence of a negative emotional state is undoubtedly an inside job. And so the solution to the negative emotional state is an internal process. And it's unique to me, whatever this experience is that I've created. My reality is strictly internal. It's unique to me and is created out of my own thoughts. And when I am able to map out the way the worksheet asks me to do, what my thoughts are, what the emotion is that's being generated by that thought, what the only solution that my mind is giving me to that situation that would provide relief, when all of that is canceled, I leave a clean and open space in my mind for something new to show up, for some kind of an association or a connection. And if I'm willing to do that a countless number of times with little or no aha experience, I'm priming the pump, I'm setting myself up for life-transforming insights. I'm convincing those fearful parts of my own mind that I actually do want to get access to them, that I'm convinced at various levels that it is safe for me to have access to those parts of my mind, the content that's in the fearful part of my mind. And when I do that, my experience is my perception clarifies, my choices are better informed, I end up feeling, seeing, saying, and doing things that are better for me and everyone around me. And, it's in all situations. It's in every dynamic and construct. The fact is, it doesn't matter how many people I could enlist to agree with me that what was said in that video call on Monday was rude or thoughtless or negative or unnecessary. It doesn't matter how many people agree with me. It doesn't change the fact that whatever upset I generated had nothing to do with the words that were being spoken by the person who was speaking it. The fact of the matter is, only my internal process is capable of generating that negative response. So I clearly walked into that situation on Monday with some unhealed wounds or some traumatic energy that was locked in my system or some false beliefs about my role in the world and people's obligation to fulfill that role or to interact with that role the way I think they should. And that is what is giving rise to my upset, nothing else. I like to pull out the bottom line observations and remind myself, if I have a negative thought about myself or somebody else or a negative emotion, I can instantly know three things. And the first of those three things is that whatever my mind is showing me in this moment, it's either a lie or it's based in a falsehood. The next thing I can know is this is not about what my mind is telling me in this present moment. It's only, always, and forever about the past. If I have upset, and the Course in Miracles has already told us this in lessons, in the first 62 lessons, I'm never upset for the reason I think I am. I'm upset because I see something that isn't there. All of these lessons, whether it's from Course in Miracles or Guy Finley or other great spiritual teachings, they tell us that there is this part of my mind that constructs things that are painful and then tries to convince me that it did not create the thing that it just created. And the proof that it tries to offer is how much it doesn't like the very thing it just created. I've been through this before, but I think it bears repeating that one of the big points of contention that I run into with people when I say that whenever I have a negative emotional state, what I can know is that it's not that my upset, my negative emotional state, has nothing to do with what's going on in the moment. And routinely I get people that say, well, of course it's about this situation. It's about what that person just said that was so rude, or it's about this car accident, or it's about, the list goes on. But the fact of the matter is, my direct observations can teach me this. Great spiritual teachings throughout the decades have taught us this. I'm never upset for the reason I think I am. And if I have a negative emotional state arise to my awareness, what I can know is that it's not about a present moment situation. It's an old tape playing, it's based in a falsehood, and if I take an action based on it, it's going to make my situation worse, not better. There's no amount of working with my pain that's going to produce a productive, constructive resolution to a problem. If I act from my pain, I'm going to ensure that I get more pain. If I choose the approach that her name will come to me, Sylvia Boorstein uses whenever she's upset, she puts her hand over her heart space and she talks gently to herself and says, Sylvia, sweetheart, you're in pain. Take a few deep breaths. Then we'll look at what's going on and then we'll decide what to do. But for now, Sylvia, sweetheart, you're in pain. So calm down, relax, get centered, restore that balanced perspective, that loving view of the world, and then we'll look at what's going on, and then we'll decide what to do. Don't act from your pain. If you want things to get better, you must choose love. You must choose to teach only love, as the way of mastery would call you to do. You need to understand that the pain is an alarm signal that's best used to alert you to the fact that there's an error in your perception, that there is faulty image creation happening, that you are not seeing with spiritual vision. You are creating images that are a distortion of actuality. And I'm, happy to say that once again I was able to restrain myself on Monday. I did not say something that could be interpreted as an attack or as a sarcasm, and I just remained quiet. And then, as time allowed, I did my worksheet process. And I got a little bit of breathing room, you might say. And then today I had the opportunity to have somebody do some energy work with me around this. And I tapped into another level of, again, my own personal upset, which was at the root of the righteous indignation and the negative judgment against this other person that swelled up in me in the middle of a video call on Monday. And as invariably happens, I get to see how the images my mind was showing me and the ways my mind was showing me or telling me that my upset was about this person on the video call and what they said, I got to see very clearly have nothing to do with them. These are old energies in me, old frustrations, old negative judgments about myself and others that have been resonated into activity. And at some point in time, and I have a lot of people who say things like, well, you mean to say now simply because you're calm you're not going to say anything about this rude or this off the mark thing that the other person said? And I try to reassure those people that I will definitely say something if it comes to me that this is a useful thing, and there's a way to say it from that space of either holding people accountable or being loving, in the full recognition that any upset I have about it is self-created. And that's really hard for a lot of people to understand. How can you restore yourself to a calm, loving space and then say anything about somebody being off the mark? I remember one time I had an interaction with somebody. We were working as a team of people, and they're in this spiritual work and very loving and all that, happy hoo-ha. And one person kept saying, well, I'm getting the guidance that we should do that. I've tapped into Spirit, and Spirit's guiding me too. And I finally, I realized that it was irritating me, and so I did some worksheets on it, and I got to the point where I wasn't irritated by it, but I still saw there's a problem with that lead in. If I say to somebody, if I'm working with a team of people and I say, well, now I've just tapped in and Holy Spirit's telling me that my guidance is blah, 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 it's really like I'm trying to pull rank. I'm trying to, rely on a higher authority. I'm trying to overrule any objections to the suggestion I'm trying to make. And that really is at least a confounding factor, if not a problem-inducing factor when working on a team. So it came to me, after I'd done my worksheets on it, that it would be useful if we could agree as a team to drop that from our vocabulary and just make the assumption that any recommendation anybody makes is coming from their highest guidance. And so I made that corrective recommendation after I had dismantled my upset. And probably because I had dismantled my upset and it came across so, we'll say, with a neutral or a positive, solution-focused energy, it was agreed upon. Everyone was able to see, oh, man, that could be a problem. Oh, I never really thought of it that way. Okay, well, I can agree to drop that from my vocabulary and just make the assumption that anytime anybody makes a recommendation, it's coming from their highest guidance. So it isn't as though I go through life and never speak up. It's that I've made the commitment whenever possible to dismantle my negative judgments, negative emotional reactions before speaking up, before suggesting a corrective. And that has made all the difference. That's like taking the road less traveled. That has made all the difference. So I'll take a drink and ask if anybody's got any comments or questions. Our caller number is 563-999-3581. If you call that number and press 1, we can have a conversation. I had an interaction with somebody yesterday, and I was prompted for the first time in quite a long time. I think there's only been a couple times in my life that I've given this kind of a comment or compliment or description to somebody. And they said, what does that mean? And I said, well, it means that whatever energy I invest in you, I know you're going to amplify it and spread it around. And that made me think of a book we haven't talked about in a while by Adam Grant. And I think that's the author. And his book, I believe, is titled Give and Take. And in that book, he outlines his observation that we've got people who can be accurately described as people who are takers, people who are givers, and people who are matchers. And the givers are people who they have an internal reward system that gets activated when they give to others. It's naturally rewarding for them to give. It sets off their endorphins, etc. And there are others who are more tuned to taking. And there's the third variety of people who they're willing to give, but they're sitting there with a tally card, and they want to make sure that they get back as much as they give. And so they're not going to give to you unless you've given to them first. And then they'll match the investment of time or money or energy. And so in this book, Adam Grant was trying to do some research and find out, is it valid to have these three categories of people? And if so, are there some useful extrapolations we can make from what the research shows us? And he was beginning with a hypothesis that said, I bet if we're able to identify, create a questionnaire that helps accurately identify these people, he said, I'd be willing to bet that we're going to find far more people are givers among the poor people, among the lowest 25% in the population. And that in the highest 25% of the population, as far as the socioeconomic level, we're going to find that takers are far more highly represented there. So he put together the questionnaire and he did the research, and he was shocked to find out that while it was true that there were more givers than takers in the bottom 25%, so givers were overrepresented in the lower quartile, or 25% of the population as far as socioeconomic level. What he found shocked him when he realized that givers were also overrepresented in the upper 25% of the socioeconomic levels. So there were more givers in the top 25% than there were takers. And then he was hell-bent on trying to figure out, okay, what would make some givers end up in the poorhouse and other givers end up in the 1%? And that's a lot of what he talks about in the book. The essence of it is, the short version is, there are several different aspects to look into, but one of the critical ones for me is the idea that if I give indiscriminately, if I give without regard for making sure that I and my family have what we need to begin with, and then I give for my abundance, if I'm giving with that first level of awareness ignored, and then I give to people regardless of their status as givers or takers or matchers, I'm opening myself up to get drained, burned out, overwhelmed, etc. What he found was that the people who are in the upper 25% of the socioeconomic level, who are themselves givers, they are very careful about who they give to. The kind of an example he used was Richard Branson, the billionaire, who he found out that Richard routinely gives his time and energy to interns for, whether it was a month-long or year-long program, whatever it was. But he didn't do that without first screening to make sure that whatever intern he was going to give all of this time and intelligence and effort to was going to be somebody who would be a giver and take that and amplify it and give it out, spread it, magnify the benefits of the sacrifices or the knowledge sharing that Richard Branson was doing. So, some people balk at this and say, well, that's prejudicial. Well, yeah, in a way it is. I'm going to have a prejudice for giving my time to people who have a like-minded approach to being givers, to trying to help as many people as possible benefit from their gifts, rather than indiscriminately giving to people and perhaps giving a significant amount of my time, intelligence, and money away to somebody who is going to hoard it or keep it to themselves or try to pretend it's theirs. So I would encourage us, each and every one of us, to give, but not give freely. to give to people who have a like-minded approach to, I think it was Dolly from Hello Dolly in one of the quotes, she said, money's like manure. It's not any good unless you spread it around. Well, this giving that so many of us do in trying to be helpful gets amplified when we give to people who are givers. And it's a very good way to avoid the burnout. Because when you're giving to somebody and you know they're going to appreciate it deeply and you know they're going to turn around and pay it forward to others, it's far easier to keep on giving. It gives that reinforcement, it gives that payoff, it gives that energy to the cycle of energy, feeding energy. So perhaps that sparks a thought in somebody. Our calling number is 563-999-3581. We have someone with their hand up. Is this Ellen?
Yes, it is. Hi, Dr. Tim.
Hello, Ellen. How can we support you today? What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to recommend another book. And this came out of yesterday's conversation about the ants. I was reminded about a book that I had by Byron Katie, where she talks about an experience where all of a sudden she discovers there's ants in her house, not only in her house but in her food and crawling on her body. And so I pulled the book out this morning. I was, wanting to see if I could find that particular part of the book where she talks about that. And instead, I just found myself not being able to stop reading. It's about every page that I open to. And realized, wow, this is a book that I really, really, really want to recommend. It is called 1,000 Names for Joy.
Yep.
I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
I am familiar with the title. I have not read it.
Oh, okay. It's totally mind-blowing and very similar to how I was telling you Lillian DeWatters kind of just takes me straight there. This book has the same effect on me. She doesn't lead you gently to the truth. She just puts it right out there for you. And I just found it such a wonderful thing. And so now I have decided I have to reread this book. It's been a long time since I read it. And I remember the first time I read it, I was just like, how can this be? It was just so confounding to me, the things that she was saying. And now, all these years later, it's a completely different experience.
Seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? Yeah. How could that be? And now how could that not be? It's perfectly sane, right?
I mean, it's still mind-blowing to a certain degree, but now I'm much closer to understanding what she's expressing. And so, yes, there is as I sat down to listen to your show, I thought, okay, well, if I'm meant to find that section, where she talks about the ants, I will find it, and there I just opened right up to it. So maybe I just want to tell Susan, because we had our Susan's Mind Shifters group met this morning, and I was telling her about this book, and it turns out she has this book. So I wanted to mention that it's chapter 64, where she tells about her experience with the ants, so that Susan can read it and see if it helps her at all with the situation that she's been dealing with. Yeah, it's it's quite.
Chapter
I find it
64
amusing.
has ants in it, right?
Yes. All about the ants and her killing the ants at some point and realizing that, wow, why doesn't it bother me to kill these ants? And just dealing with all of that.
Well, on your recommendation, I'll take a look at that book.
Okay.
I might even reach out. I know she's in high demand, but I doubt that it'll hurt to reach out and ask to see if Byron Katie might be interested in an interview.
Oh,
it
wow.
always helps if they are close to having just published a new book. It tends to make these authors more willing to do a podcast or an interview. So 1,000 words, 1,000 names for joy. We'll take a look at that.
Yeah. And the subtitle is Living in Harmony with the Way Things Are.
That's her essential message.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because ever since she woke up in 1986, she's pretty much been living in joy. So I tend to, take the words of someone like her to heart. And even though it may be hard for me to believe what she's saying, I take it in and I sit with it. Because I know that she has seen the truth and is living the truth. Someone that's living in constant joy must be living in truth.
Yeah, and that's it's interesting. We were a week ago yesterday. We were listening to Michael Singer, and his course is titled "Living from a Place of Surrender," and I think I mentioned it last Wednesday that as we listened to this talk about bliss and love and the potential to live our lives in an entirely different way than most of us are trained to, several people on the call were triggered to anger and rage. And it's just fascinating to me to observe how often we can create an internal experience that's so dramatically different than what others right next to us are creating, watching the same thing, having ostensibly the same, or at least exposure to the same stimuli.
Mhm.
And this, the Byron Katie is just one of the many people who've had a very troubled life experience with depression or anxiety or whatever, and they've come through the other side of it with an awareness that could benefit anybody who's willing to take a look at it.
Exactly.
And just like, Eckhart Tolle and his work, where his dark night of the ego gave way to an awakening in his soul that's blessed thousands and thousands of people who read his books or attend his classes.
Yep.
All right. Anything else on your mind today?
No, that was pretty much it. It just amazes me how many wonderful teachers we have, and how they all seem to be saying the exact same thing in different words and in different ways, and kind of makes you realize, oh, hey, there must be something here. These people that seem to know peace and joy are all saying the same thing. And I know for some people they like to stick with one teacher, and it confuses them to move into other teachings. And then there are people like me who I seem to benefit from hearing this similar type of message from all these different teachings.
Well, I've been saying it for quite a while now that I get far more benefit when I read different things by looking for the similarities than I get by looking at the differences or trying to speak to differences. And it's just, it creates a synergy, it creates an amplification of the truth and the message, and so I'm right with you on that. The more I look for the similarities between these teachings, the more benefit I get.
Mhm. I agree.
And it has baffled me for a long time how people want to draw so much, and it's almost like turf wars, right? The difference between this theory and that theory, this philosophy and that, this religion and that, when I get so much more benefit by looking at the similarities. This is how I was able to get Dr. Michael Rice into the Christian Science Church. And as far as I know, he was the first, perhaps in many, if not any, Christian Science church, to be a non-Christian Science speaker allowed into their church. And there was all kinds of pushback, there was resistance, but we overcame all of those resistances. And I thought, this is good, because I knew both teachings very well, and I thought, they are so similar. And what Michael Rice has to offer is so practical. This is just going to be a boon to the people in this church. And exactly the opposite happened.
Really?
It was like he was a pariah. It was like the only people that showed up were the people that I had arranged who knew about Dr. Rice's work. And the only people that showed up from the church were the people who were there to unlock the church and then make sure we locked it up when we left. One person for each talk. So the entire congregation stayed away as though it was kind of poison. And the only thing that the only thing that I could surmise as to why something like that would happen is because of this kind of a turf war thing, and because there's so much similarity. You know, the very same church was willing to let a very different Christian Spanish-speaking group use their church, and they had, you know, camaraderie and fellowship, and that was part of why we thought, oh, these are open-minded people and like-minded people. There are going to be all kinds of people from this congregation that'll find benefit in this. Not one.
Wow.
So, there's a mystery there. It's beyond me, but it's not. You know, as I say, what I have found far more useful is to look for the similarities. But to do that, I understand I also have to give up, you know, having some sense of proprietary ownership. Like, you know, we're the ones with the truth. Capital T, truth, right? Have to give up that sense of pride or ownership in any way. And as we know, that's not something everybody's willing to do.
Yeah, and that's one of Byron Katie's teachings, that we really cannot take credit nor blame for anything. Yeah, and you have to go both directions with it.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday about that. She was asking me, so when you have people in your office and they're just loaded with self-blame, how do you work with them? And I said, well, the bottom line observation number 2 is that I've never seen blame lead to the productive or constructive resolution to a problem. So I tend to be, results-oriented, and I ask people, how long have you been doing this self-blaming, and has it helped you move toward a better space in your life? And invariably the answer is no, and then I say, okay, so let's try something else. And we just begin with that at a very basic level. If it's working, keep doing it. If it's not working, let's put that down and pick up a different tool. And the tool to pick up is the tool of responsibility. And most people have in their mind word links between responsibility and guilt and shame and blame. But Michael Rice is very clear to point out, listen, responsibility is not guilt or blame. Responsibility is a tool that if I pick it up and apply it, it allows me to have the ability to respond differently the next time a similar situation arises. How do I get that? Well, I take a look at what's been happening. I'm as honest as I can be. I generate an honest appraisal of what I've done in the past or in different interactions that's led to the result that I don't like. And when I look at it and I see my part in that pattern, now I've got something I can change. And now I have the ability to respond differently the next time a similar situation arises. And, of course, that's the kind of thing we could talk about for hours, but go ahead.
And just to recognize that you didn't have that ability previously. So not to take on.
I don't have that. I don't have that ability if I blame. Right. Right. If I either become a victim or I blame myself. Right. It steals from me the tool of ability to respond differently in the future. So I realize that we've just expired the hour, and I thank you for your call and questions and comments. They're always welcome. I will mute you so you can listen to the second hour. Thank you for the call, and I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeannie Rice.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. Appreciate you. I did capture the name of that book, so I've got